I am Gregory Hallows, and this is Preserve Halloween Podcast. So let's set the scene. You're in the dark forests of the Alps. The snow lays heavy and the firelight flickers against the cabin walls. There's whispers of a figure who would come during the turning of the year. Some said she was beautiful, a lady in white, blessing the diligent and the kind. Others swore she was a monster, a haggard witch with a hook nose and iron talons, tearing open the stomachs of the lazy. This was Perchta, the winter witch, whose shadow still lingers in alpine folklore and whose eerie presence carries with it echoes of Halloween. Here we go. Imagine a winter's night. You're in medieval Austria or Bavaria. Snow piles high outside. Wolves prowl in the distance. Inside, families huddle around, telling tales of spirits and witches. And among those stories, none struck more fear or fascination than Perchta, also called Frau Perchta or Berchta. She was said to visit during the 12 days of Christmas, especially the 12th night, moving silently from house to house. But unlike the gentle gift bringers we've come to know, her visits were tests. Tests of virtue, tests of work ethic, and tests of faith. There's always that trick, right? You can't just have something, you got to be tricked, or there's a trial about it, right? So, much like a lot of other stories we've talked about, Perchta embodied duality. Some described her as radiant, dressed in white, blessing children and spinning maidens who had been diligent in their work. So it's the lady in white. You might know that famous story. To others, she was a hideous crone, punishing those who were lazy or greedy. So there's that dual imagery again. This dual image connects her to Halloween's witches, figures who straddle the line between wisdom and menace, beauty and terror. And like the Halloween hag who stirs her cauldron, Perchta too was a figure who could nourish or destroy, depending on how you lived your life. So you're either punished or rewarded for what you did. Again, a lot of these stories in folklore are tales of morality, tales of, trying to teach you something. So why don't we listen more, right? Anyway, her most infamous legend was gruesome. Those who failed to finish their spinning or skipped the traditional Lenten fasts might find themselves visited by Perchta, and instead of gifts, she'd slice open their bellies, remove their insides, and then stuff the cavity with straw and pebbles. She would make you a stuffed doll, basically. It's a horrific image, but also symbolic. As all things, right? This was a way of frightening communities into obedience and discipline, much like Halloween's tales of wandering spirits who punished the living. Perchta's legend reminded people of the thin line between reward and ruin, much like a lot of these stories, again, that, these folklore stories I'm telling you. Her presence was not only told in whispers, but also acted out. Perchtan processions held in the Alpine regions featured masked figures. Some were beautiful, some were grotesque. Marched through the streets. These Perchtan, named after her, that's a pretty cool name. That would be a cool band name, right? Perchtan. These Perchtan, named after her, were thought to drive away evil spirits of winter. The masks resembled those worn during Halloween parades or Samhain rites, where costuming was a tool against the supernatural. The Perchtan runs still survive today, with horned monstrous figures chasing away evil. An alpine cousin to the Halloween revels of mass and mayhem. It sounds also very familiar to Krampus festivities. Again, these folklore legends have ties to pagan and Christian traditions. Perchta likely has pre-Christian roots. Some see her as a survival of an alpine goddess, a spirit of fate, of fertility, and the turning of the year. Much like a lot of, again, I'm going to say this a lot of folklore is all based on the seasons. Others link her to Holda, which is a Germanic figure associated with spinning and women's work. As Christianity spread, these once goddess figures were recast as witches, monsters, or demons. Of course they were. Much like how Samhain's spirits became Halloween's devils and ghouls. tale as old as time, right? These pagan stories got all discombobulated. Over time, Perchta became folded into Christmas tradition, standing as a reminder that winter was not just a time of light and joy, but of darkness and reckoning. Where have we heard that story before, right? It's like deja vu all over again. So what makes Perchta a Halloween sister? It's her liminal role, much like some of these other stories we've heard, moving between blessing and a curse, between the living and the dead, between festive joy and lurking terror. Her processions with masks mirror Halloween costume rituals. Her gruesome punishments echo Halloween's fascination with death and the macabre. And her dual identity, both radiant and monstrous, reflects the witch archetype that dominates Halloween iconography. Even today, the Perchta runs with their horned figures, fiery torches, and wild masks feel like something ripped from a Halloween parade, just shifted onto the snowy streets of the Alps. Also, very similar, like I said earlier, to Krampus and Krampusnacht. So, each winter, as the alpine nights stretch long and the mountains stand silent under the snow, Perchta returns in memory and ritual. She is both beautiful and terrifying, a bringer of blessings and a harbinger of punishment. So, what is it about Perchta? That's a very, very brief. I've been doing these histories as just very brief because I really want you guys to search out the longer stories for yourself. I want you to look up Perchta and Krampus and La Befana and all these other folklore stories that I bring up. I really want you guys to search for this stuff yourself. So I'm doing just, I guess, a sneak peek or a highlights, if you will, of these stories. Not deep into any of the history very much, but I really want you to explore this stuff on your own. So what do you think of this another one of Europe's winter witches? How many are there? I don't know. There's a lot. But just as a sneak peek, I was contacted by a listener who wanted me to explore the connection between D&D and Halloween. So I think that's what I'm going to do for the next podcast that comes out next time. I'm really having a lot of fun doing these short, brief glimpses into Halloween and folklore and comparisons and contrasts. And it's really a lot of fun, talking about this stuff. But hopefully you're enjoying it. So that was just a little brief introduction to Perchta, the Witch of Winter, and Halloween's Alpine Shadow. That's a pretty good description, right? So, as always, until next time, stay strange, stay curious, stay spooky, and always preserve Halloween.